Oh man, when I lost my friend at that very young age, it impacted me so negatively for so many years. Didn't know how to communicate what I was feeling. I thought I had to do everything myself. I thought getting help was a weakness. I didn't realize that your ability to help and be helped is actually the make-break point of sanity. And it just made me insane because I thought I had to do everything by myself. So I turned to drugs and alcohol as a means of self-medicating, and to numb it out. I had an epiphany one day about I wasn't really honoring her legacy. I mean, I was even having suicidal thoughts at one point. And then I had this epiphany that I wasn't honoring her name, that if she really was my best friend, what would she want for me? She would want me to be happy, right? So if I'm happy, that would be the gift I could give her, not to ruin my life because of her and blame it on her. Would you want somebody to do that if the roles were reversed? And then that's when I decided, you know what, I have to live my life, I have to make something of myself. And since that loss at 14, because of the road that I went down, from the ages of 14 till I was 17, when I left, I had 8 more friends die because of the lifestyle that I was in. So 4 died in an alcohol-related car accident, 1 committed suicide, 1 had an overdose, and 1 was really loaded and fell backwards off of a balcony. So it was just traumatizing. Now in my life, I realize from a very young age that life is valuable and it could be here today, gone tomorrow. So if I'm going to look at it in any upside, I've looked at it that for the most part, and I'm not perfect at this, but for the most part, I appreciate life. I appreciate living. When I have an upset with my daughter or daughters or husband even, and there's an upset, I can appreciate all of it, because that's life. It isn't always perfect and always working, but I'm living, I'm alive. Like if you had cancer and you're so sick, if you're on this chemotherapy treatment or whatever, and you have no energy for a fight. So I've learned to value life and appreciate it. It's also helped me to be able to just go for it. Because if I died tomorrow, I always say that to myself, if I died tomorrow, would I regret either doing or not doing this decision right now? Go for it. What have I got to lose? So that's the plus side that I took away from all of that negatively impactful scenarios that happened early on in my life. My family. I'd want to just be with my family. My biggest fear is that something would happen to them. But I don't have any fears or doubts about who they're going to become in the future. I believe they'll be productive, happy, contributing members to society. And as my role as a mother, I'm to create the environment where they can flourish and prosper, where they can make their mistakes. And I'm not going to be angry. They will have lines that they cannot cross and there will be consequences, but they will have to have known about that beforehand. They have to understand the rules of the game. If it's a first offense and they didn't know, how can you make them wrong or punish them? Like a little kid who writes on the walls at 3 years old, they're not trying to ruin your life or your walls. They're trying to give you their creation of art. So if you just hat them and say, wow, educate them. Like, artists write on paper so we can frame it and hang it on the wall. Now I have to go paint the wall. I lose your art. That's no great. Now you get to sign it. It makes it valuable. Never paint on the walls again. It's about not punishing the child for making mistakes, but educating and saying, like, now that they're older, right? If you go get on this particular app that is not conducive, appropriate for your age, and you tell me about it, the consequence isn't going to be as bad. it will steepen as it goes. If I find out about it after I've already told you, you lose your phone for 3 days or a week or whatever I already said. So then I have to stick with my guns and say, look, but I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to whip her. I'm not going to beat my children into being terrified. I want them to grow to be strong, powerful, confident women who can rule the world one day, not be afraid of getting a whack, and a make wrong and an invalidation and an insecurity and a degradation of who they are. Everyone makes mistakes. No one's perfect, so that's what I'm trying to be. And I'm not perfect by all means. I'm a mom. I have mom guilt. There's many times I think I could have handled it better, but I get better every single day and I learn, and I'm just trying to make the best environment possible to produce these productive, contributing, happy members of society. Well, let's just go to the cons. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I am now working with groups called Slavery Free World. It's a huge confront. It's a topic no one wants to talk about. It's very hard to confront. But children don't have a voice, especially kids in foster care, where this is happening a lot. But children are being sex trafficked. This isn't happening in foreign countries anymore. It's happening the most in the United States of America. There's children, and then there's preteens that are being sex trafficked. And so the problem is when you don't confront these situations, your kid could be on Roblox, okay? And these infiltrators, these pedophiles, they get on and they know how to use the emojis and they know how to talk the language, and they develop relationships with your kids. And then, they get your kid to tell them what school that you go to, and they Google what schools are in the area. And then he's pretends like he's little John who's 12 years old and sends pictures or whatever, innocent pictures. And then John tells him about how he's in a fight with his parents and makes that cool, so that, your child will say, oh, my mom is this or that. Then they've got you. They weaken the parents, right? The power flow. And they're talking to your kids. And then they're like, oh, I'm at the school down the street and blah, 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 blah. And they've got multiple screens. These guys are sophisticated. And then they're like, oh, let's go, I'm going to come by and meet me in your driveway, which is a true story and has happened. The mom's washing the dishes. Mom, I'm going to meet my friend in the driveway. Okay, honey, goes to the driveway, takes her, gone, sex trafficked. These kind of stories happen all the time. So the thing that's terrifying is your kids don't know who they're talking to. And now with AI and what they can do with the voices to make themselves sound like young kids, it's just got to be a policy that you just do not talk to anyone on the internet, period. And you've got to find a way without tragically terrifying your child, but also as they're able to understand more things, you have to be able to have these kind of conversations with them, because it's very extensive. And almost every school in America, by statistic, has bribing. So they will get the information about their parents, their sisters, their this, what school, the that, and then eventually they're like, send me a picture, and then if you don't, then it's this or that. So these kids are now, and if you don't, I'm showing your parents, I'm going to go after your sister, so then the pictures become more and more, and they post them on these porn sites. All like the black market, it is a huge industry and no one is confronting it. So this is my problem with social media with the kids, and the TikToks and all of that are teaching kids to use their body and to determine their value by how sexy they do. And they're young, and society, the American Medical Association has just downgraded pedophilia from a disorder to a preference. They are trying to go after our kids in this country. So it terrifies me because they're putting a heavy influence on all of our kids who should not be confronting these issues until later in life when they're adults. You don't put sexual content in front of a kid. Now, the positive part of that is if the parents are monitoring the account, is that they can build a following, and then they can do their little businesses and promote their businesses and learn to become and use it entrepreneurial wise. But for the most part, I'm just very terrified of it. I would tell them, use social media. You be a cause point over the social media. You put your content out. You put your message out. What do you want to say to other kids? Are you going out spreading the message that they should, look like adult women where people look at them in a sexualized manner? Or are you trying to say and take a stand and say, kids have rights and we can do this and we can be entrepreneurs? Use social media. Don't be used by it. So there's a lot of inflow, and it's very difficult for them because they get swept up in it. But if they have too much of that inflow, they will start at very young ages, especially the girls, but I'm assuming the boys too. I don't want to exclude them in this. But they put an enormous amount of pressure on themselves to look a certain way, to act a certain way, when they let themselves be used by social media. So get on there, use it, get known. Best known beats best product. If you're selling and making candles and nobody knows it, you're not going to sell your product. So get that out there, but show them with your family, show them with your, your pets or your gymnastics or whatever, the school or the this or the that. But use social media, don't be used by it. Friends, my global family, I call them, my global family, my fans, my friends, thank you. I'm trying to reach a spiritual legacy on this planet, and my purpose is to restore the family unit on this planet, and I want to make a difference for the better. So the more that the global family does well and you handle your sector of the planet, you're helping me fulfill my spiritual legacy play, and you're also helping the planet. So I wanted to say thank you for taking responsibility. Thank you for owning your power. Thanks for going out there and having the courage to stand up and to speak out and to go against the grain and the normal, the AMA, that says pedophilia is a preference. It's hard to stand up to these people and to these companies, but when you have your core values in line and you're willing to take a stand and say, this is what I stand for, I applaud you and I thank you, and I know it's not easy, but well done.